Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Q&A for Pamela. So go ahead and start typing in your questions in the chat, and she will be happy to answer them. It can be about her session or what you would like to ask her. So yeah, would you like to say hi, Pamela?
Hello. Yes. Hi, I'm Pamela Piquette. I was just talking to you, if you were able to join them last session, about Paul's thorn and saying yes to God's no. So if there's questions I can answer about that, or if you're interested in something more about chronic joy ministry, a next step, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Yeah, well, while we're waiting for questions, I loved your session. That verse, in my session I said that Romans 5:3-5 was my favorite, my second favorite verse. My first favorite verse is 2 Corinthians 12:9. So it's great. Your first question is from Jody, and she says, "What do you do for EDS?"
Well, that's a very long question to answer. EDS is I guess the best I can describe to you, it's a never-ending moving target. So something else new goes wrong, and we work on a treatment for that particular thing while I'm still trying to recover from the thing before that and the thing before that. So it's a broad title. So I don't know how to answer specifically. There's not a specific treatment for EDS. You treat the symptoms or you treat the co-conditions that go along with it. For me, there are two really significant things that I fight with, if you will, and I have just really awful migraines. I live with really almost constant migraines, and they're not, when I have them, they're debilitating. I really just don't function. So that's one thing. And then there's also some serious pelvic instability, which just makes the migraines worse. I don't know how that's possible, but it does. So I have a team of doctors, but mostly it's just learning to live well where I'm at and learning to take care of me. And when my body, you talked, Sarah, about taking care of our spiritual health. I think it's the whole picture. We have to really listen. God gave us bodies and minds so that we can listen to what we need to do. And if we need to rest, then we need to rest. I don't like that very much sometimes.
Yeah, it can be hard. Lori, Jody, and Bethany all really liked your session. They were very grateful for it. Jody says, "Yeah, that's rough," and she also is amazed that you can talk like this and all of that pain and everything.
I tell you, adrenaline's a good thing.
What'd you say?
Adrenaline is a good thing.
Yes. Oh, Beverly agrees with that. She's amazed that you can stand. She says she has to teach from her bed because she can't even sit in a chair for more than 15 minutes without having to rest.
We got right to the edge of how long I can stand. Was a chair next to me that I could sit, but it just wasn't good for the picture. So I tried really hard. And the other thing that really helps for me is making sure I have way more salt than the human body should need to have and tons of water. So I did everything I was supposed to today. I rested, I drank my water, I ate my salt, and laid kind of low key so that I could do this one thing. And I think that might be something that I'm not alone in. There's sometimes it's just one thing I get to do. And I'm grateful for that. And I look forward to it, but it's certainly not what others might think is normal. To me, going to church, for example, it's a big deal if I'm able to get my act together and go, because it's first thing in the morning. Mornings are hard for me. I don't know if others are like that, but I think one thing at a time is all we can do. Just the next step, the next breath.
Yes, for sure. Beverly says that, yeah, she has a one thing schedule, and Jody says, God is helping you to teach today. Kim says, could you please explain more about the study series you mentioned, and that's available on your site?
Okay. It's a 4-book study series. I'll talk a little bit more about it in my session tomorrow, but it's a pathway to a different kind of life and chronic illness. It's Hope, Purpose, Worth, and Joy. So Discovering Hope is the first book in the series. Finding Purpose is the second book. Embracing Worth is the third book, and Encountering Joy is the fourth book that'll be out later this year. They're studies, and I tell you, my ministry partner is the writer. We split the job, if you will. I talk, she writes. So she's written these beautiful books that really, the first book helps us to walk through the hope cycle. Instead of, we need to grieve, and really that's what happens in this book is it helps us to grieve and to tell our story and to figure out how we can live life a little differently and learn actually to thrive in a life with chronic illness.
For sure, yeah. That's been a theme for me lately, is learning how to grieve. But
that's what the first book really is. And in fact, it's a great little mini story I will tell you is when we started to research the first book or think about it, there's just basically, a standard grief model. There are things that you walk through. So for example, in a grief cycle, you might be angry. And that's a normal thing. Well, we took each one of those things and we sort of turned them on their head and did the opposite thing. So instead of an anger chapter, there's a chapter on humor. And we ask the question, when was the last time you really laughed? And you found humor in things again. And so that's kind of how the book helps you, is to reorient your thinking, allowing you to grieve, but pointing you towards hope.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I need to read that. I can't believe I haven't read it yet.
I will send you a copy.
A lot of people in the chat are talking about doing it as a group, which I think is a great idea. You guys should definitely go for that.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, but I think one of the things that I'm encouraging people to consider is, because we are ill, and I'm one of you, I don't leave the house, right? A lot of days, and going to a traditional church or organization kind of thing where I have to go somewhere is really hard. But you've shown us today, Sarah, how we can do things virtually. There are a lot of methods we can do that. We can do that, through Google Hangouts or Skype or FaceTime. But small groups are absolutely possible. And maybe that's how we need to do it. We need to re-envision, broaden our vision, actually, of what the small group dynamic looks like. We still need to meet. We need community. But it can be different.
Definitely. Fellowship is still important, even if it's hard to get to. So if you guys want to add your any last questions you have, we're running out of time, but I definitely agree. The internet has really helped me in being able to have fellowship and encouragement and a support network, even if I'm not up to physically having what people usually do to build relationships.
Right. You still build relationship. It just looks a little different. It doesn't look like what the world sort of thinks, but the truth is chronic illness changes everything. We don't need to look like either what culture sort of puts into us into a box. And so truthfully, that's why it's so important that we provide that first book. We really want people to get started. It is the heart of chronic joy, because we know it's what we long for is community, and we long for community to begin. Just take a first step. And so anyway, it's also mentioned on your website as one of the freebies. So it makes it really easy to go to Diamonds 2019 and click on the free Discovering Hope book.
Definitely, yeah. In the study guide, I think that there should be links to the Chronic Joy website, and there's where you registered. There's links to the freebies, which are I think some of these studies, right?
Yes, it's the first book is a freebie. It's listed right on your page.
Yep. So yeah, head over there. Lynn, we'll have our final question because we're running out of time. But Lynn says, I'm working through Discovering Hope. I want to tell my story, begin writing. I am having a mental block. I suppose, do you have any advice for her?
Because I don't love writing, and I really had to learn to embrace that since I took on this job, if you will. Don't try so hard. Just write those list of questions in there. doesn't have to be in order. Just write answers to them. Let God lead you where he's going to lead you. And don't worry about form and format and how it all looks. Just start anywhere and write and just let it all come out. And once it's all kind of on paper or on the computer, maybe you'll start to see some organization to it, but maybe it's not for anybody other than you. Maybe it's just for your sake to get the words out, to figure out your story, at least enough that maybe you can encourage and offer hope to someone else through your own story.
Yes, as a writer, I will definitely say that. Well, we've come to the end of our time, but thank you so much for sharing, Pamela, and I look forward to your session tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Good night, everyone.
To go on to the next session, again, there's the link down below in the description, or there's also, you will be getting an email shortly, those who have registered, that will also have the link. So go ahead and head over there.